Hello, 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 hello. হ্যালো, হ্যালো।
শুনতে পাচ্ছিস?
হ্যাঁ, আরে গুড ইভিনিং, গুড ইভিনিং করতে পারছি।
গুড ইভিনিং, শুনতে পাচ্ছিস?
Yes, 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 I can hear you.
Hello,
আর স্বামী, you're there.
sir. Good evening, sir.
গুড ইভিনিং, গুড ইভিনিং। তাপস,
Yes,
আমি তাহলে স্ক্রিনটা শেয়ার করে নিচ্ছি তোর সঙ্গে, আর
হ্যাঁ।
তুই যখন বলবি তখন স্টার্ট করব।
স্ক্রিনটা এখন শেয়ার করবি?
আর আমি খালি ফ্রন্ট পেজটা রাখবো,
আচ্ছা,
তোর পেজটা।
ওকে।
দেখতে পাচ্ছিস? দেখতে পাচ্ছিস? হ্যাঁ,
পাচ্ছি, পাচ্ছি।
এটাই থাকবে,
হ্যাঁ,
ঠিক আছে?
ওকে।
মিস্টার চ্যাটার্জি এসে গেছেন মিটিং এ।
মিস্টার চ্যাটার্জি আসছেন এখন।
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। তুই আমায় বলবি কখন শুরু করতে হবে, আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
ঠিক আছে, ওকে,
ওকে,
ওকে।
এটাই স্ক্রিনে রাখ।
হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে।
আমাকে ঠিক দেখতে পাচ্ছিস তো?
এখন দেখতে পাচ্ছি, স্ক্রিন শেয়ার দেখতে পাচ্ছি এখন।
হ্যাঁ, এখন স্ক্রিন শেয়ারে দেখবি।
হ্যাঁ,
আমি যখন শেয়ারটা স্টপ করব তখন খুব কম লাস্টে একটুখানির জন্য দুটো কোয়েশ্চেন পেয়েছি, তো দুটো আমি চেষ্টা করেছি আনসার দিতে, বুঝলি?
গুড ইভিনিং আরো। প্লিজ। হ্যালো, অরূপ। অরূপ ভাই, প্রফেসর বানোয়াট বলছি।
হ্যাঁ, গুড ইভিনিং স্যার।
গুড ইভিনিং, কেমন আছো?
ভালো।
এই জাস্ট এর আগে একটা ওয়েবিনার জাস্ট শেষ হলো।
আমি ওয়েবিনারে থাকি না, আমার আমার কলেজের বন্ধু তাপস কান্তি দত্তর রিকোয়েস্টে আজকে রয়েছি। I would rather prefer to make eye contact.
ভালো।
आधा एक थोड़ा सा आधा बना दे, आधा मम्मी के लिए रख दे।
আমি তো সত্যেন্দ্র ব্রেজা আর আমার রিসার্চ স্কলার দিয়ে বলেছি তোমার আজকে আছে লেকচারটা।
Yes
Very
sir,
nice.
I am.
Welcome, Satyendra Breja.
Good evening sir, good evening.
Welcome.
আমি বাংলা বুঝতে পারি, কেমন আছেন দাদা?
খুব ভালো, কিন্তু বাংলায় বলবো না, আমি ইংরেজিতেই বলবো।
আচ্ছা, একটু শুনলাম আপনি বাংলায় বললেন, তো আমার খুব ভালো লাগলো।
হ্যাঁ, আমার প্রফেসর বেনওয়েট সাহেব তো আমার থেকে বেশি বাঙালি।
হ্যাঁ, জানি আমি।
উনি দুর্গাপুরেই থাকেন, and he has done his engineering from Durgapur.
ব্রেজা আমার আন্ডারে পিএইচডি করেছে। কেসি আলিয়ার আমি গাইড ছিলাম।
Very nice.
আমি খুব মানে I feel proud कि I am the most favorite student of Professor Benwet sir.
Good evening, Arupda.
गुड इवनिंग राकेश जी कैसे हैं?
ठीक ठाक, आप सुनाओ.
गुड टू सी यू.
Thank you, sir.
काम होता है ना विनय, सिर्फ उससे उसके रेलिवेंट से वो चैट करता है और वो भी बकवास नहीं है. बाकी अगर कुछ एक्स्ट्रा बोलना है, कीर्ति बोलती है, मैं बोलती हूँ. इट हैज बिकम सो इजी. सब आदिति पूरी अपडेटेड है, क्या हो रहा है नहीं है. आरुषि भी अपडेटेड है. आरुषि इज आल्सो इन दैट फाइबर. चलो अब हमने ना एफएनपी का खोल लिया. एफएनपी के 2 लोग ऐड हो गए. मैं निशा
এটা আমার একটু এক পয়েন্টে চালিয়ে দিন. রাখতে লেগেছি এক পয়েন্টে চালিয়ে. এক পয়েন্ট আছে. ওরে এত দূর ছুটতে কভারটা
गिरीश क्या हाल है मेरे?
Yes, please. Hello. Hello. इंडिया के बाहर गया होंगे.
Applying the design, thinking direct.
लिखा था. नहीं, हम तुम जिस ग्रुप में हम
Taposh, can we start?
Yeah, we'll be starting now.
Is Mr. Chatterjee here?
Yeah, just a minute. I'm starting. Indranil.
Yes.
Yes, start. DJ also already joined.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I am Rotarian Indranil Mukherjee, the Secretary of Rotary Club of Durgapur Central. I welcome all in this much awaited webinar, for which we have been waiting eagerly to hear from our much esteemed guest today, Dr. Arup Raichaudhuri. Dr. Raichaudhuri will be speaking on applying design thinking paradigm to post-COVID revival. Well, what can be more relevant than this at this point of time? But before we go ahead, I request all the participants attending this webinar to please mute their mobile phones and video for better clarity of the webinar. I request our District Governor, Rotarian Subhashish Chatterjee, who is the chief guest of this program, to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Club Secretary Rotarian Indranil, my dear President Tapas, the members of RC Durgapur Central, the Rotarians around Durgapur, Central clubs, assistant governors, past district governors, and the Rotarians beyond. And our today's evening, the most important person, the invited speaker, Dr. Raichaudhuri. Welcome you all to this wonderful webinar organized by Durgapur Central Rotary Club. And what an apt topic they have chosen, applying the design thinking to this post-COVID revival. And who could be the best speaker in current situation available around us. I must thank Dr. Raichaudhuri for giving his consent to being with us in this webinar and spend some valuable time sharing his talents with us. And I'm sure after this webinar, we will be connected with his deliberations. Dr. Raichaudhuri, only thing I can say that we have seen COVID, all darker side of the COVID, all negative things of the COVID. It has taken people's life, taken people's career, whatnot. But one thing I must say that COVID has given us, especially to the Rotarians, to adopt the digital access of joining each other. I can proudly say my district 3240 have taken this note from Rotary strategic plan of enhancing adaptability in this COVID time. And from Asansol to Aizawl, each corner of the districts are connected with each other Rotarians, perhaps more than the way we did during the physical meetings. So I can see a good sign of this, that the digital connectivity has improved. People have got educated how to use the digital platforms for meetings and all that. I'm sure this will help us in days to come. I would not further to say anything because we are eagerly waiting to listen to Dr. I would request President Taposh and the Secretary Indranil to kindly take over and take it further. I wish you all the best. Have a good session and enjoyable session here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, District Governor Rotarian Subhashish Chatterjee, for your opening remarks. Now I request our President, Rotarian Taposh Kanti Datta, to say a few words about his very close friend, Dr. Arup Raichaudhuri, with an outline of today's topic. But before my President starts, let me again request all to keep their mobiles in the mute.
Good evening, Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen, and Dr. Arup Raichaudhuri. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, the eminent personality, Dr. Arup Raichaudhuri, today. who is going to talk to us about very much interesting subject, that is design thinking paradigm in post-COVID revival. This is very much apt subject in today's pandemic situation to revive, in which we should all be deeply interested because of its adaptability in post-COVID revival. Design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems in an attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. Our today's speaker, Dr. Arup Chaudhary, became chairman and managing director of NTPC Limited, the 10th largest power producer in the world. Prior to this, he was chairman of National Building Construction Company, NBCC, at the age of 44, making him the youngest CEO ever of a public sector enterprise. Dr. Rai Chaudhary was a chairman of Standing Conference of Public Enterprises, SCOPE, a forum for over 200 central public sector enterprises in India. He was ranked as number 14 in a list of India Incorporated 100 most powerful CEOs 2013, compiled by the Economic Times. Dr. Chaudhary was also visiting professor in various educational institutes in India. Dr. Rai Chaudhary has written the books Management by Idiots and Delhi's New Motibag. He received Forbes Public Sector CEO of the World for 2014. He is also recipient of Rotary Vocational Excellence Award 2008-9 for achieving excellence in profession and making significant contribution to society. Best Technocrat Award by Creative Foundation December 2005 was awarded to him. The list is endless. Presently, Dr. Rai Chaudhary is Principal Advisor Infrastructure, Government of West Bengal. It is my proud privilege to inform the House that we spent our formative years together in our alma mater, that is Birla Institute of Technology, Mesa. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Arup Rai Chaudhary. The House is yours, Dr. Rai Chaudhary, from now on. Dr. Rai Chaudhary, please, we are eager to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all those who have joined. Especially thank you to Tapas Kanti Datta, who has actually been after me for a long time, to come on board with Rotary Club of Durgapur Central, to which he is attached. And believe me, I wish I had come earlier on board, because I am one of those persons who are in the old school of thoughts. And I like to talk to people making eye contact. Talking to them through the camera, I think, is the job of the film stars, which I leave it to them. For people like me, I would like to make eye contact. I would like to be questioned. I would like to satisfy them with my answers. And that's what it has happened for most of my life. Now, I also want to thank Mr. Subhashish Chatterjee. I think you say Rotarian Subhashish Chatterjee, who's your district governor and who made this wonderful welcome for me. I would like to thank all the Rotarians of Durgapur Central Chapter who have joined today. I also find that some of my teachers, eminent professor of IIT Delhi, Professor Benwet, who's a Durgapur boy. He studied in engineering in Durgapur. His family still lives in Durgapur, although he lives in Dwarka, happens to be in the meeting. I find many other people who are in the meeting, some of my school friends, some of my college friends. I find them all in the meeting, and I'm so grateful that they have decided to join this meeting. I find some of my friends from Kolkata, some of my friends also from my organizations like NTPC. I find Sudipta Basu, who's my cousin, just joined from Power Grid, and Srirup, my own brother, who's also online here. And so many of you people are here, and I feel very elated that that you are here to hear me out. And I feel a pretty challenged because, you know, this is a new platform for me. I normally don't accept any webinars. I don't come to any webinar discussions because I'm still alien to it, believe me. And as Rotarian Chatterjee pointed out, probably this is the way forward. And probably this is what is one of the paradigms that we need to change post-COVID for us to survive in this, in the new environment which is coming. Well, without much ado on the introductory part of it, I'm grateful for you all to have introduced me so warmly and accepted me here. I have a very small presentation, a few 6 or 7 slides. Basically outlining it, what I would like to say is that why am I saying design thinking paradigm? What actually is design thinking? It sounds more complicated than it is. Actually, it is nothing but strategic change. Subject strategically, which I teach in IIM Kolkata. I have taught in IIM Raipur. I have taught in IIT Delhi. So it's a subject which is very common in management. It's not a new subject. And probably this is a time where we should have a serious look as to what we have been learning on the institutes in the ports and how to apply that to a situation we find ourselves to be very unique to the world, not only to us. So whenever I talk of industry, I talk of competition, I talk of your competitor, please consider yourself to be in an international platform to really go ahead with that. So first slide is just nothing but my subject, applying design thinking paradigm to post-COVID. Now there's an ancient Chinese saying, and the Chinese have very, very interesting sayings for everything. Although today they're not very exciting people for Indians now. But you know, they're as old a civilization as ours. And probably they are older also. So they have very nice sayings at times. And you know, they say, the saying says, loot a burning house. So it sounds so rude and rough and uncouth, unsocial. But if you really understand what is it trying to say, the trick is easy and self-explanatory. What does it say? It says, attack when your opponent is most vulnerable. When is your opponent most vulnerable? Post-COVID, your opponent is most vulnerable. Now, please, we are all talking of business environment. We are not talking of social friendship. We are not talking of family. So any opponent of yours may be a friend, but is also your enemy, is also your opponent, is also your competitor. And therefore, you must look at his weakness. You all do market intelligence survey in your business. You all try and look at what is the weakness of your competitor in the intelligence survey. So you know now that in the COVID situation, who has become the weakest and how can you really snatch business, if I could use that word, from these people or take away their business to become your own. Now, I can't proceed with my presentation unless I have made a reference to Milton Friedman. Now, what did Milton Friedman say? We must understand who that person is. He is the most prominent American economist, and he was based out of Chicago. He got an award from the Chicago School of Economics. In 1991, Friedman received the John Bates Clark Medal, honorary economist under the age of 40. So you must imagine, at 40, he was recognized and an outstanding economist. And then he went on to win the Nobel Prize in 1976. One of his well-known essays, Friedman stated, only a crisis, actual or perceived, produces a real challenge. So let's see, we are not in a perceived challenge. What we talk of when we talk of competition in the market, when we talk of corporate restructuring, when we talk of looking at how you should take advantage in the market, when we talk of market intelligence, when we talk of competitor weaknesses, we all talked of a perceived crisis. But here we have an actual crisis on it. Probably in a century's time, we never had such an actual crisis on it. So therefore, when that crisis occurs, action action that are taken depends on the ideas that are lying around. And how the ideas are lying around? The ideas are lying around because you're applying design thinking. That is how the ideas are lying around. In the next few slides, I will explain to you how design thinking will produce the ideas. And you know, that I believe is our basic function, to develop alternatives to existing policies and to keep them alive and available until the potentially impossible becomes, the politically impossible becomes the politically inevitable. Then, therefore, he floated the idea of disaster capitalism. How does a disaster assist capitalism? This was his floating the idea. Taking Milton Fried forward, probably I go to the next slide where I will say, what is design thinking? Design thinking is an interactive process in which we seek to understand the situation, the challenges, and find a route for attempting alternative roadmap strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent within our initial level of understanding. Therefore, we are implementing what I would say a strategic change depending on the situation. That exactly is what design thinking is telling us. Look at what design thinking is. There's a very simple depiction on how you should look at design thinking. Design thinking actually has three basic stages: the inspiration, the ideation, and the implementation. So what takes you to the inspiration? For the inspiration, you must understand the situation. You should observe the environment, and then you try and develop a point of view. So you understand the situation, you observe what is happening, and then you develop your own point of view. So that's the inspiration that you get. And then you ideate that inspiration. How do you ideate the inspiration? To ideate the inspiration, you prepare ideas, then make prototypes and test those prototypes in a live situation within your organization or within the industry that you operate in. And then when your ideation stage is over, you really go to the implementation stage. What is the implementation stage? Actually, please believe me that in India, that's most important, because we have a situation when we have a company. We have a situation where we do not want to give pink slip to our people who have been with us for a long time. We have a situation where we sort of know each individual's plus and minus. We know their family history. We know their medical history. We know everything. So we know what this person is capable of delivering to us in this new environment. And therefore, we do a storytelling. Depending on how big your organization is, you do a storytelling either yourself as a CEO or the owner of the company, or you do the storytelling through a selected team of yours. You have a team whom you have done the storytelling. They carry the story down. So once the storytelling session is over within your entire organization, you come to creating a pilot. So now you have a storytelling done. You want to do this. You want to change. Your line of business. I know, for example, I don't want to name. It's very close to me, but I know, for example, a business which was doing retails on various, various products are now, because of shortage in the market, actually are doing retail in COVID-related items. They wrote retail in masks, retail in, hand sanitizers, retail in soap, retail in temperature, oximeters. So this is a way of looking at creating a pilot. You've created a pilot and then you prepare a business model based on these various pilots that you have made. This essentially is how design thinking is depicted and nothing to, it's not very complicated. This is something which you actually do. And if you put it down, probably you will also put it down like this. Suppose, how much time do I have?
Yeah, you can go ahead. No time is used.
Now, my favorite subject, strategic change management. And when I compare this with what I'm talking of today, you know, if you see in every management discipline, there is a guru. John Kotter is the guru for change management. If you see, he has given you 8 steps. Establishing a sense of urgency. That means urgent situation has come. COVID has happened. Your business is going southwards. You do not know what to do with the surplus manpower they have. Formula powerful coalition. That means what? Same thing what we talked earlier. You sort of form a group to which you do the storytelling, to whom you do creating a vision. You create a vision and give them a vision. You communicate that vision to the entire organization. And then you empower an employee. You tell an employee that up to this, please go ahead. You are the boss. So what I need is actually the numbers at the end, and create short-term goals. That means what? You tell them that this month, you're going to sell so many. You're going to sell so many units. And by creating a short-term goal, you also celebrate the wins. You know, anybody who's achieved it, you call them in and you call the rest of the team in. You could just have a small tea together. You could have a small drink together, depending on what situation you are in. And those people feel great that they have delivered something for you. Then you consolidate the improvement that you have made. Now, once you've got a team in position, everybody is doing something, you see that everybody is delivering, put them in the same platform and consolidate. And then your entire organization institutionalizes the new approach. Now, this is what a Kotter is teaching as far as change management is concerned. Now, I was introduced by Taposh as somebody who's also led NBCC and NTPC. Both the organizations, I take great pride in bringing about total paradigm change. One was of a sick company set up for disinvestment, which has gone into becoming an Navratna in Government of India. The other company was a BEMA, actually a very big power generator, one of the 10 biggest in the world, but it was going in its own momentum, and therefore it had to be given an accelerated push. Both these I have put down in a book of mine, Riding Two Tigers. It is available on Amazon. It doesn't cost much, 200 odd rupees. It talks of these two tigers, Tiger 1 NBCC, Tiger 2 NTPC, which I wrote, and how I faced the various problems and how I succeeded in delivering results. You know, so it talks about it, and it is sort of, you know, it tells young managers who are going down the line how not to reinvent the wheel. You know what somebody has done in such a situation. Now, if you see here, essentially, I will go to the next slide, which will make it more clear and link it to your design thinking. But if you see this slide, those 8 steps which Kotter had mentioned, actually in Indian conditions has become 16, because you can't actually do it in 8 steps in India. It has to be 16, and that is what was done, and very successfully done with very good results. So I come to this slide where we are saying, what am I saying? I am saying that if you look back at what I said on the design thinking model, I said you observe. So what have I said here? I said as is analysis. How is the situation today? So for that, doing that, you have to do, you observe it, you make an as is situation, and you do a SWOT analysis. Unless you do a SWOT analysis, you really don't understand. And when you have done an understanding, what I had said there was reinventing the organization, which means have a point of view. You inspire the people on your point of view, and then you communicate with the internal stakeholders. So you do those storytelling, as it says, you know. And when you do this communication, HR becomes a strategic partner, because HR is very important. And believe me, by HR, I mean human relationship. In my life, the HR started as P&A, personal and administration. And when it was personal and administration, we used to call it Panga and Aranga. So when they came to know that they are called Panga and Aranga department, they changed their name to Human Resource Development. So what did we say to that? We said, Hamara Raj, HR. So therefore, that concept is not correct. It is actually a human relationship. Human is not a resource. You put 1 liter of petrol in an ambassador car, and you have the same model of ambassador car, another one, put 1 liter of petrol. They will all run the same amount of kilometers. So, you know, they are a resource. The car is a resource. But human being, you have 4 children growing up in the same family, eating the same food, going to the same school. Look, 30 years later, the 4 of them would have achieved different levels in life. Therefore, human, you must understand, human is a relationship management. And this relationship management team is very important to help you in ideating, in empowering the organization and the employees. And then you do an internal benchmarking, which is you inspire people. You tell them, this is what I wanted, this is what you did, this is what you must do. So you must inspire them. And then you prepare a small prototype model for each of them, each profit center, create profit centers, and avoid cost centers as much as possible. Create profit centers, make a prototype and give it to that profit center head to be the owner of the prototype, so that he runs the prototype, he or she runs the prototype and then gives you a result. And then organization climate, that means your business model, what kind of employment. Make the goal setting, set a goal, make a pilot as the diagram, as the diagram says, make a pilot, set a goal, then create motivation, ideate, make a point of view, motivate people, do restructuring of business model, create prototypes, create cultural changes in the organization. You know, the organization should actually go through a cultural change post-COVID. It's like it was said in the beginning, that now that we have become more savvy with how to work on the web, there will be a total cultural change. There is no coffee house ka adda. There is no sitting in offices. You are all working from home. You are interacting 24/7 from home. So there's a total cultural change on how your organization will work. And therefore make a prototype of this change. And then corporate relationship management, you ideate essentially within the corporate and outside the corporate. It's actually a relationship that you must have with your customers. And for this earlier, how did you do? You went to their offices, you invited them in parties, you created a physical interface. Now you can't do that anymore. You have to actually interact with them, WhatsApp, talking. Then you make a sustaining change model. Test it. Then create the leadership who have point of view. So I will stop here on this. I'll go to the next slide. I can go on and talk on this because I've physically implemented all this very successfully in an organization. I would like to say here that people who change, after a change will survive. So terrible change has come about post-COVID. So it has told us that people will change after a change has come about. People who change with change will succeed. People who cause the change will lead. So you are now in a position where you will cause the change in your organization. You know, by using design thinking, by using the strategic change management approach, you will change. You will actually cause the change in the organization. System and procedures will change. Standard operating procedures will change. Your business cycle will change. Your customer profile will change. So you will implement that change. And then I got a question from Mr. Indranil Mukherjee, which was linked to something what I was talking about. Hello, please. There's something that I've been talking about, and here he raised a very interesting situation, that there is a desirability of an organization, and there is something which is called viability and something which is called feasibility. Now, how to achieve balance between human desirability, business viability, and technical feasibility in post-COVID? Now here, Mr. Mukherjee, if you are already here, let me tell you, and through you, let me address others also. There is always a desire. There is no limit to desire. You know, the desire should never end. The moment your desire ends, you know, you become inert. Your aspiration ends. And you all know that desire is not what you desire and what you get is not always 100%. There is a certain percentage of what you get from what you desire is what is acceptable to you. Now, how it is acceptable to you? Due to the various circumstances, COVID has come, you're having a problem, resource crunch is there. So you must understand that your desire is also toned down. And there are certain things which you have got, which you have achieved. Now, what is the viability? Now, viability again depends. You are saying apply what you are saying essentially is business viability. Now, what is business viability? Have you due to COVID shifted your business? Have you fine-tuned your business? Have you gone into downward or upward integration in your business? Now, what is the viability over there? The sky is the limit. Actually, it is up to how much you create as viability. But there also, whatever your viability is, maybe you will have financial constraint, maybe you will have physical constraint, maybe you will have logistic constraint, and therefore, your viability also will not be 100% possible of what you think to be the viability. And then you said the third point is, you know, the technical feasibility. Now, what is technical feasibility? Please try and understand. It is something that we create. Design is something that we create. Excuse me. Design is something that we create, and we can always modulate it. Depending on the situation that we are in, we create technically, we make it feasible technically of what our desire and viability has matched. And therefore, we will not be able to do again 100%. So you will have the white portion in between, which actually covers all three, if you see really. And that is how it is. The second question Mr. Indranil raised was how to access unexpected development while sticking to set priorities and objectives because of the dynamic situation prevailing in the pandemic. Now here I draw Mr. Mukherjee's concern to this slide. There is nothing unexpected if you are ready for a change. You know, if you are able to cause the change, it is further not unexpected. So you should not have an unexpected situation. You should be always alert to expect a situation which might happen. And I know while I had only 2 questions, if you have any more questions, I put my email at the end of it. Do that. I wish I was physically present with all of you. I could have taken your questions and answered it across the spectrum. Now, if you look at this, until you change your thinking, you will always recycle your. Why do I say this? because today you have certain experience. What we say in our own, you have a sanskar. Well, what is your sanskar? It's something that you've learned. So similarly, you have a business sanskar, a business ethics, a business paradigm, and a business operating procedure. You will have to change certain. And then the Buddha says, who's the greatest teacher, and I think I really follow Buddha's teaching. He's been one of the greatest teachers for us. He's not only a saint, not only God, not only, if I could say, Krishna avatar, or Vishnu avatar, or whatever I might say. He was also a great teacher. Everything changes. Nothing remains without change. This, the Buddha is saying. When is he saying that? Imagine, when is his time and when is he saying about change? And when are we today talking about change? When are we today talking about point of view derivation through using design thinking? So let's come to my last slide, which is thank you, of course, to all of you. I have my email ID here. Please give me a feedback. I have my wiki address here, where if you want to know more about me, you can easily go and have a look. And Taposh Kanti Datto, thank you very much. I really enjoyed being with all of you. I would welcome any question. I will send it to Taposh. Taposh, you can send the answers to those who raised this. It was a pleasure, and believe me, those of you who joined in late, I explained in the beginning that I do not like to come on webinars. I am an old school person whose flesh and blood wants to stand in front of you. Stand, believe me. I don't even sit and speak. Stand in front of you, speak to you, take your questions, jot down your questions on the marker board, reply to each of your questions, and satisfy you at the end of the day. I am also one person who actually opens the wrapper of whatever you give me as a gift at the end of my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your excellent deliberation. After your deliberation, if anybody who are listening this, if anybody has any doubt or any clarification to clear his mind, I most welcome him in this. The amount of time left, not much of the time is left. So I request anybody who has got any question.
So suppose I will leave.
Yeah, just a minute. Indranil. Just a minute. Indranil.
Yes.
Yes, proceed.
So if we don't have any questions right in hand, I would like to request our past president, Dr. Vinay Bajaria, to give the vote of thanks and declare the end of this webinar.
Thank you, President, for giving me the pleasurable job of proposing a vote of thanks. I start with thanking our DG, Rotarian Subhasis Chatterjee, for his kind opening remarks. He set the tone of the meeting very nicely. And no words are enough to thank Dr. Arup Roy Choudhury for your enlightening talk. My only grievance with you is the talk was too short. I think we should have listened to you for some more time to grasp what you were trying to say. So I think the time was too less for most of us to get everything that you were saying. I think there's some things I'll always remember, that the Panga and Aranga and Hamara Raj. I think this is going to stay with me, and I personally going to use that with your due permission. I think this is something will stay. And I think listening to your talk, I was reminded of the quote by Winston Churchill, never waste a good crisis. I think the COVID is a very good crisis, and no organization should waste this crisis and use it to adapt and grow in their organization. This is all, I also personally believe that. And I look forward to reading your book, Riding Two Tigers, that I'll be ordering today itself. Thank you, Dr. Roy Chaudhary, for your kind talks.
Thank you.
Kind talk.
Thank you
and
very much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
So thank you all for attending this
Thank you.
webinar. Thank you, Dr. Roy Chaudhary. I'm saying goodbye to all. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead. Okay. See you once again in future.
33.